Hello. This is the third episode of our series called Living in Illusion. And in this series, we first kicked off, I think it was 2 weeks ago. The vlog topic was on living in illusion, specifically when it came to personal relationships. And then last week, it was specific to business relationships. And then this week, ooh boy, get ready. It's gonna get juicy. It's gonna get real hot and steamy. It's actually hot and steamy in this room right now because I'm not running the AC and it's hot outside. But it is a hot and steamy topic from the perspective it's on parenting relationships. Very scary. I will backtrack a little bit here because last week I said I'm going to do something unusual. Normally, I'm very careful to say I'm not an expert. Last week when we talked business, I was like, I actually think that this is an area that I can claim to be in business an expert in, but I'm back to not being an expert land. Okay. And even though I've got 4 kids, they're young kids. I'm still learning every day. Okay. My oldest is 10. I've got a lot of learning to do as a parent. I have not begun to embark upon the land of adult children. I'm learning every day. And so really when I was, brainstorming this particular topic of parenting relationships in terms of living in illusions, I was really pulling from other people that I know that have adult children that have transitioned out of their kids being little ones to teenagers to then adults, and really processed and do what I always do, analyze and learn. More than anything is learn. And learning goes both directions. It's either learning things that I'm like, that's awesome, I want to do that, that's in alignment with my morals and my values as a parent. And then there's other parts of it I go, ooh, don't want to do that. No. That's completely out of alignment with what I would, want to do as a parent. Now, we can all sit around and talk good and well about what we hope to be. I think that when we're raising our kids as parents, when they're small, we have all these sugar plum fairy dreams, right? That we're gonna just kill it. We're gonna teach our kids morals and values and manners and how to respect life and how to respect nature and how to work hard in their job and in school and on sports teams. We have all these dreams that we have of us being as a parent, of who we're going to raise them into becoming adults. And we think, yes, we're going to nail it. We're going to make sure it happens. The problem that we're all very aware of is nurture and nature come into play in terms of who a person becomes. And as much as we can be major influencers on the nature part, on the nurture part, let me correct myself. As much as we can be major influencers in terms of nurturing our children, we can't control their nature. We can't control a lot of times, even environmentally, we can control to some degree what's happening inside of our home, but we can't control what's happening in other environments that they're in. We can try to control which environments that they're in, but again, once they're there, a lot of that is out of our hands, right? So there's a whole nurture versus nature thing that comes into play, and I want to recognize it and I want to call it out because, again, I think in many cases, all of us come into parenting, people who want to be parents, people especially who are adults when they become parents, people who very thoughtfully make that decision. It's not like an accidental type of thing, but I think that all of us come into it going, yes, we're going to kill this. We're just going to parent the crap out of our kids. And they are going to become amazing human beings and adults. So all of that being said, I want to now shift gears a little bit and say that, and this is maybe leaning more on the front of recognizing that I have learned a lot from what I want to be and what I don't want to be from other parents. And this is what kind of came to mind as I was thinking about, and here's the topic question here, is living in an illusion ever a good thing when it comes to a parent and child relationship? That's the main topic question. Is it ever a good thing? We asked that about personal. We kind of put that out there and said, yes, potentially. It's very circumstantial. In business, the answer was no. It's never a good thing because it only ever causes harm. And so if it only ever causes harm, it's not a good thing. And now with parenting, I'm going to take a little twist on my approach with this video. I'm going to intentionally leave this open-ended after I talk about circumstances. And I want to challenge you, anyone here that's a parent of even little ones, in terms of like, what would you want to be? And also for your adult children. And then I'm going to also ask parents who have adult children to ask yourself, what are you doing? Are you choosing to live in an illusion because you feel like what's more important in order is to maintain that relationship and not break that relationship down with your child? Or are you choosing not to live in illusion, and because potentially the harm that comes from, the harm coming from your child to other people, situations, environment towards you is not worth it to maintain that relationship? So I'm going to dig in here a little bit, but I'm preempting you to start thinking that way. I would like for everyone here who's watching this video to start, as parents, or maybe even if you don't have kids, to start to think about what you would like to be. But where do you stand on this? And then please share. I want to remind everybody that the intention of this platform and this forum was to create a safe space for people who have different views, different opinions, different life experiences, to feel safe to share their views and to realize that we will carefully monitor this place. I am not willing to accept people being trolls and trying to tear me down, and I'm certainly not willing to accept that anybody else here is treated that way either. So that will not be what this place becomes. It's going to strictly be a place where it is safe, where we're respectful to one another, and we can feel safe in sharing our personal experiences and views here. So I look at my YouTube platform as a place that echoes my values in that way. So hopefully that's the experience that you have here. So I invite you to that, and I invite us to engage into a more interactive experience here. So let's just jump right into the land of illusion when it comes to parents and what should be considered. Again, I am specifically talking about adult children in this experience. I am speaking only to what I've witnessed and experienced. I'm not speaking to other people's experience because I don't know them. I only know mine. So, again, as I've made this observation, I've learned so much, from other people who are parents of adult kids. I've really considered many things. One is the reality that, again, in that nurturing component as parents, we're really forming our kids, right? Unfortunately, a lot of what I've witnessed out there from my generation in particular, and then in younger generations, is this snowplow, helicopter, you name it, whatever name you want to give it, of type of parenting style, where the parents are fiercely determined to protect their kids from any degree of discomfort. And unfortunately, along with that means that there is a lack of accountability, that the kids are not being taught to be aware of how they're causing harm to other people, not just by intentionally doing something to another person, but neglectfully and unintentionally being thoughtless of other people. And then also having this like tunnel vision approach to things as parents, where we go, well, we expect that the whole world, teachers and coaches and, the local librarian and every single family member, everybody's looking out for my kid. And everybody's not only looking out for my kid, but they should be looking out for my kid and doing for my children exactly what I would want them to do. So there's that one side of this type of parenting style. And then there's this other side to this type of parenting style where they go, but I'm not going to pay any attention and I'm not going to hold my kid accountable to what they're potentially doing to cause harm to other people, or or how they're affecting other people. How are they affecting other children? How are they affecting adults? How are they affecting teachers and that same librarian? There's nothing taught. It's just a very one-way street. It's a very tunnel vision approach to do. I summarize all of that description to call it, don't forget, narcissists can be parents too. Let that sit with you. Narcissists can be parents too. And the reason I say it that way is because a narcissist parent will only see their small children who they can control as an extension of themselves. So however they perceive themselves in the world is also how they perceive the children, because they consider their children as a part of themselves. I target this particular parenting style to create a foundation and a reference point and a contextual point around what do I mean about parenting relationships living in illusion, specifically when it comes to adult children. So I'm giving you some context there. So when you think about this parenting style, what could this then involve when that child who has been an extension of them, who they've been overly protecting, overly sheltering, having this extreme tunnel vision view, what does that mean for that child once they become an adult? It can mean a couple of things. One is that child becoming an adult could take a hard left and go, hey, just cut it out. I'm not a part of you. I'm my own person. I'm nothing like you. I'm just becoming myself. Or they could say, oh my gosh, I'm going to continue to just be an extension of my parent, and I can't be responsible for myself, and I can't make decisions for myself, and I'm not going to be accountable to anything, and I'm not going to worry about the rest of the world, and I'm going to continue to just let mom and dad take care of me forever. So there's two extreme reactions and a whole bunch of stuff in between, right? So hopefully now I'm helping. I'm kind of building up here a little bit, and I'm starting to hopefully point you in the direction when I start to talk about specifically parents in a relationship with their adult children. Again, in my observation, I've seen a lot of things go down, and every time I've seen it happen, I've gone, is it better that the parent is disillusioned about their kid who's now an adult, or is it bad? Or if it is good, why? And if it is bad, why? I've just kind of knocked that around a lot in my head. One example would be and on one extreme end of it is maybe just a adult child who has not really grown up. They become that one version I mentioned where they're very comfortable to let mom and dad do everything for them, decide everything for them, very dependent, right? Like a lack of independence for themselves. And then on the hyper other extreme end where they've gone really independent, but they've maybe taken it to like a negative place where they've become a pretty immoral person. Let's say like they've even taken it as far as they become a convict. They become an abuser of their children, abuser of their significant other, abuser even of the parents, of their siblings, you name it. And then a whole bunch of stuff in between. I've seen the gambit run here. I would say, thankfully, most of what I've seen has been on that, more mild end of things, the more dependent side of things. But nonetheless, still pretty damn unhealthy, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, that child who's become an adult has not ultimately become an independent, positive contributor to society. They haven't become someone who is mindful and conscious and thoughtful to if they're causing harm for people. Maybe they don't even necessarily care. They're certainly not accountable to it. They tend to claim victim status more than they tend to claim, hey, I screwed up and now I'm going to do better, and then go out and do better. And again, a lot of this comes back down to that relationship dynamic with the parents who want to just feel that responsibility to protect from discomfort and fix everything, right? So when you look at a situation like this, there requires a pretty significant degree of living in an illusion when it comes to who your kid is, And what I've seen personally is that this attachment that the parent has of their adult child to go, even though that they're probably not the greatest person, they're not doing good things for the world, they're not doing good things for their own family. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to who they were as a child. I'm going to go, but I know deep down inside, there's still that little girl or little boy who I always dreamed that they would be. And, and they want to convince themselves that that's still who their child has become as an adult. And then they'll also say things like, I know that they did this or they did that or they caused this harm or that harm, but they didn't mean it. They really had good intentions. And the reality is that at some point in time, when someone had good intentions but has either been neglectful of other people or has actually done bad things to other people, at some point in time, the facts are, the reality is that it is intention. It is, like let's say again, we'll go back to an old topic that we had earlier in the series, which is people who run from conflict, people who avoid conflict, right? People who run and avoid conflict, at some point they actually start to become masterminds at this. They can feel conflict coming, they can anticipate conflict coming, they start to manipulate and maneuver to avoid being confronted by people. They start to manipulate and maneuver to not be held accountable. They get really good at somehow trying to make every situation be like they're a victim and they had no contribution to the situation. So again, causing harm. Like, let's keep it real. But the question I pose to you is this. You as a parent, you as a parent to be in the future, you as a parent of young children, of a future adult, and certainly parents right now of adult children, the question I pose to you is this. Would you most likely decide that it is more important to hold your child accountable and confront them and put up some degree of a fight and live in reality at the risk of breaking that relationship with your kid? Or would you choose to continue to live in the illusion, focus in on what you wish they were and that image you have of them when they were little, and try to excuse them out by saying things like they didn't mean it, it wasn't their intention, blah, 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 in order to maintain that relationship? Obvious caveat for you to consider is that there is those extremes that I mentioned, right? Does that come into play for you? And that's what I present to you. Is it circumstantial, or is it black and white? Is it a whole absolute truth thing? Or is it a no, nothing's worth risking my relationship with my kids for? Or is it circumstantial? Do you have a line? Is there any line when it comes to your kids that you would choose to jump out of an illusion and confront who they are as adults head on, not as a part of you, but who they are as adults on their own? Is there a line? Is it at, it's okay, I can tolerate them being neglectful, I can tolerate them, doing the whole avoidance manipulation thing? Are you going to tolerate all the way over to the other side of the extreme of them being abusers, thieves, pedophiles? How far are you as a parent willing to go to continue to choose and to live in the illusion in order to maintain that relationship? So in many ways, I don't know if y'all are catching on here, but I'm tying back to our first episode in the series where I talked about the circumstantial piece coming into play. And I myself witnessed a relationship that I had in my own life where my outcome of that consideration, because it wasn't, it's not my kids, it's not my relationship, but I looked at it and I observed it and I said, I get it. I get it that especially as older parents and you have significantly older kids, I could see why you would reach a stage where you go, they're not doing really extreme harm like the murdering and the abusing and all that kind of stuff. They're being super neglectful, and probably this neglect has turned into mastermind manipulation and intention over the years, but I'm going to choose not to see that, because at this stage in my life, what's more important is that I don't break the relationships with my kids. So again, I see it from both sides, but I present it back to you. I challenge you as parents to comment here. Let's get interactive. Share your views. Is it black and white? Is it circumstantial? Do you have a line? Is it like that are you in that situation with adult children now? Are you envisioning, with all the challenges in mind, what you might be as a parent in the future? So put it out there to you. Hope you step up to the challenge. Hope you rise to it. I look forward to seeing your comments on my YouTube channel so that we can all learn from one another and have a chance to gain some knowledge in everything. So I will call it a wrap for today. Go ahead and share, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you all, and have an amazing rest of your day and week.